When working on a Golang application, there are a lot of terminal commands you need to write. There's go mod tidy, and this goes to your project and installs or uninstalls modules based on whether or not they are actually used. There is go mod vendor, and this copies your dependencies into a vendor directory. There's also go mod verify, and this checks the integrity of your modules, and so on. Now, while these commands are quite short and easy to remember, there's also creating migrations, running them, creating seeders, refreshing the database, running a linter, building the app, serving the app, and so on. There are a lot of commands, and some of them are quite long and annoying to write. For example, if I want to create a migration, I'm using Goose, I'll have to write Goose, specify the directory, which is database/migrations, and then create users table, and SQL. So I have to write all this just to create a migration file. And not only that, if I want to actually apply the migration, I'll have to do Goose, dir database migrations, and then specify the driver, which is Postgres, and then open up the env file to get the database DSN, paste that in, and then up. So I have to write a lot just to run the migration. Not fun. Now what we can do is create shortcuts for all these commands. And we can do that by using something called make, which works by reading rules from a Makefile. So we have this file where we can define our rules, which are essentially shortcuts. A rule consists of a target, which is the name of the shortcut, dependencies, which are the things we want to run before executing this target, and then we have a list of commands we want to execute. To give a simple example, we can do test as a target name, we can do dep a as a dependency, and then let's say we remove this and just do echo test. And of course, dep a is just another target that needs to run before test. So we have dep a, echo, dep a, and let's also add b just to prove a point. So we'll do b and dep b. Then we open the terminal, do make, and then the name of the target, which is test. And we have echo dep a, echo dep b, echo test. Now to silence the actual commands, we can prefix them with an @sign. So we can do @echo and then save, run it again, and we have dep a, dep b, and test. And now that I've shown you a basic example, let's go ahead and build the actual Makefile for my Golang API starter kit. The first rule we're going to add is the migration one. We'll do migration. This will call Goose, specify the directory, which is database/migrations, create, and then we'll accept the named argument using $, curly brackets, name, and SQL. Now I can open the terminal, run make migration name, create users table, hit enter, and we have a new migration file. In a similar fashion, I want to be able to create seeders. So I will duplicate this one. We'll have seeder. The directory will be database seeders, save, open the terminal, make seeder name initial users, and here it is. The next rule would be the one that will run the migrations. We'll do migrate/up. The directory will be database migrations. We'll specify the driver, which is Postgres. And then we need to specify the database connection string. To get that lives in our env file, right? Here it is. To get that, we can just include the env file. And now we'll have access to all the variables defined there. So we can do $, db, dsn, and then up. Let's also add a message. We'll do echo, running up migrations, save, make migrate up, and here it is, running up migrations, and this will run we have to create users migrations because we've created one manually at the beginning. All right, let's do the down. So rolling back the migrations, we'll do migrate down, rolling back migrations, and this will just call the same thing, but down. Let's try that out. Make migrate down, and here it is. Another command we might need is a fresh command, which will essentially rebuild our database. So that will be migrate fresh, and this needs to drop the tables. So we'll do dropping, which will call goose reset, and then we'll duplicate this and say migrating up. Or even better, we can just call make migrate up. Let's try it out. I'll do make migrate fresh, and there we go. We are dropping the tables and running the migrations again. Isn't that nice? Another database related one, I would like to be able to migrate fresh and then seed the database. This will just call make migrate fresh, and then we'll call goose, specify the directory as being database seeders. So we want to run the seeder, and then also make sure that this isn't treated as a migration file, so we don't want any database versioning happening. So we'll do no versioning, Postgres, pass in the DSN, and up. Let's try it out. I'll do make migrate fresh seed, and there we go. We could also add a message here. So let's do echo seeding. So we are dropping the tables, running the migrations, and seeding the database. Of course, you might scoff and say, hey, this is kind of too long as well. But what we can do is add other shortcuts. I can grab this and define MFS and have migrate fresh seed as a dependency, meaning that I can now run make FFS. So this is even shorter. And of course, I can do this for everything. I can have here MF, which will call migrate fresh. We can also do MD, right? MU, which will do migrate up. And I think these are fine. So make migration, make seeder, good enough. Now we can just open the terminal, make MFS. This will drop and rerun the migrations and also seed them. Okay, I think we're done with the database related ones. Let's do one for tidying, verifying dependencies, and vendoring them. We'll do vendor, echo, tidying, and verifying dependencies. Go mod tidy, go mod verify, and let's do another echo for vendoring dependencies, which we'll call go mod vendor. Now, if we open the terminal and run make vendor, we stumble upon a problem. We have make vendor is up to date. And that's because initially make was designed to build files. And since we have a target that matches a directory that exists, make will not execute the commands. Now, to prevent this from happening, we can mark this target as phony. We can do phony and then vendor. And this will instruct make to always run the commands. Now, if we do make vendor again, there we go, tidying and verifying dependencies and vendoring dependencies. Of course, in our case, this means we'd have to mark all the targets as phony, because we are not looking into building any files, we are just executing commands. But instead of marking each target as a phony like this, so we'd have to do phony migration, phony seeder, and so on, We can either do a single phony declaration with all the targets. So we can do this and then grab the vendor as well. Migrate down, migrate up, and so on. Instead of doing this, what we can do is mark all the files in this directory as phony. And we can do that by calling a wildcard function, which will return all the files in the current directory that matches a pattern. In our case, the pattern will be a star, meaning that it will match all the files and directories in the root. So we are essentially marking everything here as a phony target. And now if we run make vendor again, it still works. So instead of having to mark each individual target as phony, we just mark everything we have in our root directory. All right, what else? We could also add an audit one, and this would have to call vendor. So before we executing the audit target, we'll call vendor, which does all this. And here we'll have an echo, let's say formatting code, which will just call go fmt and pass it all the files. We'll also do vetting code, which will call go vet. Let's also run static check. And finally, we'll run the tests. So we'll do echo running tests, which will call go test race to check for race conditions, vet off since we already called it here, and all the files. Let's run it, make audit. And here we go, tidying and verifying dependencies, vendoring dependencies, formatting code, vetting code, and we even have a warning here. Let's go ahead and add a shortcut as well. We'll do A for audit and V for vendor. Okay, moving on, I'll add a watch target, and this will simply call air. Let's do a W for watch, make W, and we are getting air, no such file or directory. So I don't have air installed. I could just install it, or even better, I could ask make to install it for me. Let's go ahead and define another target. We'll do check air, and here we'll check if not which air, and we'll silence the output. Then we'll do a backslash to continue the command. We'll ask the user for input using read p. Let's say air is not installed. Do you want to install it? And then yes or no. We'll put the answer into a choice variable and then continue with if choice is not equal to n and choice is also not equal to n uppercased. We'll do go install, and I'll need the air location. So air Golang install, here it is. So if the user pressed anything but n, then we'll install air. Otherwise, we'll just do echo, you chose not to install air, exiting. Exit 1, close the if statement, and this one as well. Now all we need to do is add check air as a dependency for the watch target. Let's run make W. Unexpected end of file. What did we do wrong? Oh, here we need a backslash. All right, air is not installed. Do you want to install it? No. Okay, do it again with uppercase 10. Still not installing it. And now if I press anything else, let's say D, it will install it. there we go. Now, as you may have noticed, we're also using static check and Goose, so we'll have to do the same thing. But we should be able to extract a function out of this. We could go here and say check tool equals, I'll do a new line, paste that in. And instead of air, we'll just take the first argument. So we have air here and here. And this one will just be the second argument. And now we can go here and simply call check tool with air and then the location, which is this one. Paste that in and we should be good to go. If we run, actually I need to remove air now, which air, and then remove it. Make W, air is not installed. Do you want to install it? No. And then yes. And there we go. That means we can add one for Goose. So we'll do check Goose. And I need to grab that as well. So Golang Goose install. And then Goose here. And another one for static check. Golang static check. Install. Come on. Here it is. And now, before running any command using Goose, so migration for example, we'll first have to check if we have Goose installed. Alright, I think that's it. Let's uninstall Goose. Which Goose? So I'll remove it. And then let's say make mfs. Goose is not installed. Do you want to install it? No. Do it again. Yes. And everything hopefully works. Let's see. There we go. Dropping, running, and seeding. Let's do the same thing for static check. It's just one place here. Let's uninstall it. Make audit. Static check is not installed. Do you want to install it? Yes. And there we go. Finally, I would also like to have like a build command, of course. Let's say build API in my case. We'll do echo building command API. Go build. The output will be bin/API from command API. Let's run it, make build API, and there we go. Another thing I would like to have is something preventing me from accidentally running some of these in production. So something like a confirm target. Confirm. Let's see. Makefile confirm. Confirmation prompt. Let's see. Alright, go away. Okay, this seems to be what we are looking for. Alright, so we can grab this and say if. Let's add like an app env here. And this can be local, but in production it will be production. So we'll check if app env equals to production, then we'll do this and we should be good to go. Let's try it out. I'll grab this, or let's say migration And now if we do make migration, name test, okay, didn't work. Echo. Echo command not found. I think I need to remove this. And are you sure? All right, so we don't need this as well. Are you sure? No. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, there we go. This is what we needed. So now I can just grab this and add it as a dependency for every rule that has potentially unwanted side effects. That's pretty much it, only the database related ones. So just in case I end up running migrate fresh in production, this should save me. So if I do make mfs, are you sure? We could even make it better by saying in production, are you sure? And I'll say no. And to test it out, I'll change this to local. Run it again. And here we don't need any confirmation. And finally, the last rule I want to add is a help one. This will look through the file and use the comments as documentation. So we can do something like ## build API and say builds the command API app. And now if I run make help, we have this. Let's add similar comments. So we'll do watch live reload the application. We'll have audit formats, vets, static, checks, and runs tests. Vendor, tidy, verify, and vendor dependencies. Rebuilds the database and seeds it. Migrate fresh, just rebuilds the database. Migrate down, rolls back, migrations. Runs migrations, runs up migrations. Seeder, and let's also say name here, creates a new name seeder. Migration name creates a new name migration. Is that it? Let's see. We could also add one for help. Prints this help message. And also one thing we could do is move this rule at the top of the file, and this will make it so that it is executed if we don't pass any argument. So if we just do make, the help rule will execute. So I have help, migration, seeder, migrate down. This shows up twice. Okay, let's fix it. So runs up migration, migrate up. Make. And there we go. One last thing that kind of bugs me is having to provide a named parameter for creating the seeder and the migration. Ideally, I should be able to just do make migration and then create users table. How do I get this? Let's see, Makefile, positional arguments. This is what I need. Okay, this seems to be working. Okay, so we can grab it, but then we have this. I think for this we can just do a wildcard target. Okay, so let's grab this. And I'll put it here. And here. I'll test it, make seeder, test seeder. Okay, database seeders. And there we go. But I do have this thing, no rules to make target test seeder. I think for that I can just go down here. Or maybe even here to make it more visible, and say %, and then just, this will just do true. Is that enough? Yeah. And then make migration, test migration. All right, there we go. So this will match any other target that isn't already defined here. So basically this one just silences whatever warning we get here. So no rule to make target. I'll just bring this up and we are good to go. Make, there's our help. Then make MFS, make W, and we are good to go.